Hey everybody, welcome to the Going Analog podcast, in which three board gamers each bring a different game and a different topic. I'm your host, Christina, and we have an international guest with us today on the podcast. We have Matt from the YouTube channel BoardGameBollocks. BoardGameBollocks is a fantastically dry-humored, no-nonsense board game playthrough and review channel for folks who don't mind an obscenity or 30 or whatever, you know. So our editor, Mike Zipkin, introduced him to us. So if there's extra bleeping going on today, that's all on you, Mike. Thanks a lot.
That's why I'm here, so I can add to the bleeping and just, yeah.
I'll try my best.
Welcome to Going Analog, Matt. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
And what will be your topic for us to discuss today?
I was going to talk about the increasing price of board games and the implications of that phenomenon.
All right. Multiple nominums, yes. And since this whole episode is thanks to Mike, he's on with us today, of course. So he's the editor for all things, our board game quiz show, our podcast, everything. And we'll never turn down a beige game. So how's it going, Mike?
I get it right away. Thanks so much, Christina. Good.
And what will be your topic for us today, too?
So with Matt on, I just figured we should talk about what it's like to be, having a board gaming lifestyle that we've chosen as our hobby. And so I'm curious what the differences and the similarities between the U.S. and the U.K.
Mm-hmm. And I think Matt represents all of the UK, so we're going to learn a lot. Yeah. Since I'm here with our beigiest board game friend and our full of bollocks guy and Matt, I wanted to talk about everyone's favorite animal-themed games to change up the subject. So you can't avoid them anymore. There are all sorts from, very light family animal games to that newest hotness, Arcanova, which I will definitely be talking about very, very soon. So I'm wondering where everybody's favorite animal games sit on that scale. We'll talk about these topics later on the episode, but our little icebreaker is just chatting about a game we want to highlight, and so our listeners can get to know us a little bit better. So let's start with you, Matt. What game did you bring for us to discuss today?
I wanted to talk about Cyclades, the classic Bruno Gatthala game, 2007, I think it was.
I saw it was number one on your all-time favorite list. Yes,
it's like an area control game that's set in ancient Greek islands, but it's got a sort of a mechanism where you can draw mythological creatures from the deck, and they sort of mess the game up.
And so it's one of your favorites. What is your favorite thing about it? Why is it at the top of your list?
It's got a bit of everything in it. It's got area control. It's got a very simple combat system. The rules are easy to learn. It's tense. It's a game that's like a slow burner. So it seems to plod, and then suddenly out of the blue, it all just goes crazy. And if you add to that the expansions, the Titans expansion, that sort of gives you more of a combat type thing for people that just don't like rolling dice. And then you've got all the mini expansions. You can take the creatures from Kemet and lob them in there.
Yeah,
and you've got the Monuments expansion. You've got what's the other one called? The Hades expansion, which you don't use very often. But it's just the breadth and the depth of the game is just amazing. It's got the best auction system in a game ever. And when you get booted out and you can't go back in, so you get stuck going to Apollo for like one coin, So, it's got a bit of everything. So
yeah, I like so much. I'd have to say, like, my first couple experiences of Cyclades, like a long time ago. I don't know, probably like 8 years ago when I first played it. My biggest disappointment was I kept seeing the Kraken, and I wanted it to come out, but it never came out for like 3 games. And so
that's a good thing, isn't it? If you're on the receiving end of it.
I guess. But I just wanted to see the Kraken. So anyway, that's been my disappointment.
You just wanted to say release the Kraken is what you wanted.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for.
Or drink the whiskey, of course.
Yeah.
What about you, Mike? What game did you want to discuss today?
I wish I had more games that I've played in the recent past, but unfortunately the party games have been the only thing I've been able to play lately. So I played Dream Crush, which was this new game that is available at Target. And so it's massively being distributed, and so you're basically choosing. It's like one of those dating game shows where you have 3 suitors and you don't know. The names are always androgynous sounding, so you can never tell if male or female. which is kind of
Who
a
needs
fun.
to know?
Yeah, it's kind of a fun aspect of it because if you play it the way we played it, you hide the pictures, so you don't actually know, and so it's a big reveal at the end when we find out who our potential dates are going to be and what they look like. In fact, because the cards change the randomness of their traits, and so every round you're revealing new traits about these people. About like what's our first date going to be like? Are we going to go to the shooting range, or are we going to go to the library, or are we going to get coffee? And then everybody writes down their little thing, and you try to guess what other people are going to be attracted to. And as more things come out, it gets crazier and crazier until it's just everybody's just having a laugh, and it's a good time.
Do people end up with a person at the end?
You just kind of say who your favorite crush, your dream crush
your
of
dream
the three
crushes.
is. And so I feel like if you're really playing this as a gamer game, you're not going to get much out of it. You would have to constantly shift who your allegiance is and trying to throw people off because if you're trying to be honest, people are going to figure you out pretty quick. And that's part of the game is you get a point for guessing correctly on what other people are who are they going to choose, so...
Is it anything like Fog of Love? Is it?
Yeah, I think Fog of Love is much more. It's a 2-player game, whereas this is a bigger player count. So it does have those. It's Fog of Love for the party atmosphere crowd. There's not strategy or the possibility of a breakup. It's just like a fun dating game where drinking is encouraged, which I appreciate.
I think Netflix needs to hear about this. So, they've done Love is Blind. There could be this dream crush at some point. So.
The Ultimatum. I could see that. Unfortunately, we watch all those shows, so I know all too well.
I think Love is Blind is the lowest I'll go. But, there's unplumbed depth there. I could watch trashier things one day. We'll find out.
Yeah, that's my wife's favorite viewing material, so there you go.
Mm-hmm. And then my game I wanted to bring was, I finally did play Arcanova, so I'm very, very excited about that. We were pre-ordering it from our local game store, and I was waiting very, very patiently, buckled it into my car when I was taking it home, and so I finally played it. I played about like half a game at 2 players, and then played one at 4 players. Designed by Matthias Wig, I think, and published by Capstone. You're like designing a layout for a zoo and then filling it with animals to make your zoo very attractive, but balance it with conservation at the same time for this like very modern zoo thing. A lot of comparisons have been made to Terraforming Mars. So it's a very, very heavily card-based game where everything that you're building your zoo out is based on a card, and the deck is gigantic. But personally, for me, I really, really enjoy it because I was not that into Terraforming Mars. Because maybe it's just because Arcanova is the new cool thing. I don't know. But the art is still very much like realistic photo type stuff, but it's not as clip arty as Terraforming Mars for me, which I enjoy. And I just like the theme better. I like zoos and animals and stuff like that. I really enjoy the endgame trigger. Instead of just a preset number of rounds or things like that, you're trying to make these opposing tracks meet, and the person who exceeds them the most, like your conservation efforts versus the appeal of your zoo, the person who's done the best combination will trigger the end of the game and potentially win. So I really enjoy that and the variable powers of the action selection mechanism. So I'm eager to play again. Probably wouldn't play 4 players again because it's unnecessarily long, so I'd go like 2 or 3 players on that. But yeah, really enjoyed it.
Now, did you belt it into your seatbelt because it set off the airbag sensor because it was so heavy, or did it just go for a ride because you felt like it needed protection?
It just needed protection, Okay. I just waited so long for it. I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to get dinged up,
Yeah, it turned up at my house yesterday, so I haven't played it yet, but it's like, I think it's the only copy in the UK. It's a bash box bargain.
Wow.
You should sell it for triple the price you paid.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'll play it first. If it's crap, I'll get rid of it.
There you go. That's easy.
Is it anything like Zularetto? You played Zularetto? Did you ever play that?
Zularetto? Yeah, that's a much lighter game, right? I think I played it just like sort of collecting animals and like something
I'm
like that.
Just thinking like Terraforming Mars. If Zularetto and Terraforming Mars had a baby, it might spawn that.
Yeah, there's surprisingly can be a lot of interaction in Arcanova depending on the types of animal actions you have. So you can like put a boa constrictor on other people and limit their actions and things like that. But yeah, so it
sounds like a really bizarre war game.
That's just a small part of it. You can avoid it, but it's I love
getting excited
that
then.
track. You can play it that way. You can go heavy on the reptiles. They seem to
Snake
have a lot
death
of those
sounds
things.
great. Yeah.
Arcanova makes me think of the Bible, though. Where does the title come from? And how does that relate to the game? Any idea?
You're making a new ark of animals and
It's Latin, isn't it? It's a new arc.
Yeah.
Don't know. Maybe it's not Latin.
It's a zoo. It's not biblical. I don't know. Yeah.
You're just trying to conserve it for future generations.
Okay.
Animals.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I like it a lot so far. Need to play it more. So I tried to play it yesterday, but we were hosting a big game day, and that would have tied me up for a little bit too long from hosting duties. Okay, but let's, since I just talked about Arcanova, let's discuss some favorite animal-themed games of any sort that you want to talk about. What comes to mind when you think animal game fun? Anything for you, Matt?
Yes, it's a really small game by Haber. It's called Animal Point Animal.
Oh, yes.
And I really like it. It's this one that I've played with my kids since they were born. It's just a matter of rolling a dice, stacking an animal. So and they still play it now. I mean, my 11-year-old still asks to sort of pull it out for nostalgia value. But yeah, it's just a really simple game. It's a nice way to get kids, young children, into games. So because they identify with the animals, they can name the animals, can't they? And it's colourful, solid wooden pieces, and it's a dexterity game as well as sort of it's got a bit of luck there as well. So and a nice little bit of take that, which isn't too punishing for them. So they learn the consequences of their action.
Of messing with dad, yeah.
Well, there's that as well, yeah. But
What about you, Mike? What's your first animal game that comes to mind?
The first one that comes to mind is a Reiner Knizia design called Wildlife Safari. And so this game is like a stock speculation game, and you have a certain amount of every animal. You have the same number of every animal. There's 5 different animals, or is it 6? And there's a deck of cards. And so there's these little tiny plastic toys, like literally children's toys, representing the different stocks that you can take. And so you play a card and you take an animal. The cards are numbered like 0 to 6. And so the last card played at the end of that run, whoever played the last cheetah, let's say, is the current value of cheetahs. And so if somebody's already played the 6, you know that cheetahs are going to tank by the end of the game. If you know that you're holding the 6, you're kind of betting that the cheetah is going to be higher at the end of the game. So you might slowly take a cheetah every once in a while. But you have to make it, not very obvious what you're trying to back. And so by the time I think the 6th card for one of the animals comes out, the round ends. And so you're just kind of stuck with whatever points you have. And then, it's just speculation, and the animal theme is very loose. But yeah.
But you get to take toys, so that's fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no, I've been excited that there've been gamier games with animals in them because I have a bio background, so anything with like living things I find fascinating, and animals are just adorable sometimes, So I actually just played a 5-player game of Wingspan yesterday at our game day because it's just so easy, relatively easy to teach. Even though we threw all the expansions in at these 2 new players, they did fine. So I still enjoy Wingspan. It's just such a beautiful game. Everybody loves touching the eggs and various goods from those Stonemaier games. And it just, when your engine pays off, it's great. I had lots of eggs going, which was fun. And then I like the added part, especially of Oceania, the expansion that adds a nectar that makes it a little bit more gamey, where for every habitat you're competing on who's spent the most of this nectar to add this extra layer of point scoring. So enjoyed that a lot. And
so did you completely demolish your friends who are new to this game, or what?
I mean, I didn't mean to, but
that's why you chose it, wasn't it? Yeah. Simple fact.
I did not choose it, actually.
Murder, death, kill, right? That's what it was.
Our friend Albert had tucked like 1 billion cards, which is also a lot of points. So I thought for sure he was going to win, but somehow I squeaked it out with many eggs. So there you go. And then, right now Arcanova is my hot new thing, and I really, really like it. So I see a lot of replayability in there just because the deck is so gigantic. I can see the different animals synergizing in different ways. One thing I really didn't like about Terraforming Mars was when people know all the cards, they're just like digging for particular cards or like spite drafting it from others. And maybe it's just because I don't know this game very well, but it seems very hard to do in Arcanova because there's so many cards. I like that part about it. So just making tactical decisions rather than knowing, oh, I'm looking for this one strategy. It might never come out, and that's okay. So.
How much have you played Terraforming Mars by comparison? Is it something that you would play instead of, I'm guessing?
Yes, because I've only played Terraforming Mars twice.
Okay.
Maybe 3 times. I don't know. With many years in between. So I enjoyed it. The last time I played it was within the last year. But we had a group of friends who would play it every week, and I was never going to sit in on a game of that. So
yeah, that's my familiarity. I have a group of friends that's all they want to play, and so my enjoyment of joining them would just be completely disastrous. I would just never have fun because they know every strategy.
Yes. I mean, there's definitely an advantage that I've played it before because the way that things fit together. It's a very crunchy game, so I definitely have an advantage of understanding more some of these different actions. But I think that the game goes long enough that you can catch on along the way. And now that I've played it better, I can better explain, like, strategy wise, make sure you're not neglecting these things. Make sure you're getting income early on, stuff that people can run into obstacles with. So yeah. And I have to mention, of course, the whole Flat Out games with Cascadia and Calico. Such really approachable games that still have really fun decision making for tile laying games, especially for cat lovers. The Calico game, it's like an immediate thing everybody looks at. So I was like, okay, yeah, we'll break this out. And then everybody feels horrible as they're trying to decide where to put their tiles. But everybody is oohing and awing the whole time they're sad. So it's great.
That's what cats are like, though, isn't it? They're sort of traditionally evil. So, you know. If it was sort of like, I don't know, something to do with dogs or sort of Isle of Dogs, it would be all fluffy and lovely, wouldn't it? All just people just like being docile, but whereas cats.
Well, actually, so Shu's here. He's like taking notes. Shu, our producer. He's not part of our official 3 today, but he just played Dog Lover recently too. How was that as an animal doggy game?
Yeah, that was
many dog games.
That was an interesting game from AEG where you collect dogs. And you're trying to rescue them from shelters, and then you teach them tricks, which in different tricks will allow you to collect more cards. So you have to feed them, you have to give them toys, and you're trying to create all these different combinations. You're trying to adopt dogs. It's super cute for if you're like a dog fan or dog lover. Like like when we were playing it, our friends were just like. Our friend Maria was just like oohing and eyeing, and just like every card, she's like, "Oh my god, this is so cute!" And they try to be funny. Like there was a card up. One dog was in a wheelchair, like the hind legs weren't working, so they had a little mini dog wheelchair for it. And the dog's name was Mario, Andrew, Eddie. So like Mario Andretti, like the race car driver. So they have a full of cute puns and things like that. It's a really cute game, but it's really light compared to like an Arcanova.
So really, animal games are best for tricking your friends to get into board games, is what I've discovered. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
And your kids as well, yeah.
And your kids, exactly. So Matt has several kids, and he's tricking them quite well, from what I hear.
No, they're just gullible, that's a problem.
I should have mentioned one more game. Fauna by Freedom and Freeze.
Oh, yeah, it's great, yeah.
That's one that I'm looking forward to playing with my son because he's obsessed with animals. He's only 4. And he knows every one of these cards. But the game, okay, so the basic idea of the game is that it's a trivia game. You have a map of the world, and you're trying to put your cubes out where you think this animal exists. So let's say, like the cheetah comes up or something like that, and you have where it's located in the world, where it lives, how long is its tail, and some other factors. And so there's a stack of animals and facts, and so you're just like betting on where you think the points are going to be, and so then you reveal, and everybody finds out how many points they get based on having knowledge of these animals. So
that
it's
sounds fun.
It's like it took trumps and actually made a decent game out of it. You know?
Yeah, yeah. There's a few other games in that line. There's Terra, which is like more world history and trivia, and then America, which is all American history or trivia. But it came out in 2014, so all the facts are a little dated now. So pretty good games though.
And just as a quick story about Mike's little son, they came to visit recently. And the very first thing he asked me is like, do you have any Transformers, Christina? And I was like, I'm really sorry. We have no Transformers here. And he just immediately starts bawling. And everybody runs up and is like, what did Christina do to Mike's kid? And I was like, I just said we had no Transformers.
Well,
so sorry.
Yeah, to be fair, your house resembles the toy store to him. So
It sort of does.
So, how do you not have Transformers?
Now I know for the future. Buy one Transformer just for your kid. So there you go. So I do want to talk about your topic next, Mike. What was that?
Just kind of like choosing board games as your hobby and like the lifestyle that it has brought us into is something that I'm curious to hear about from everyone, because whenever we have friends over, I don't have a large group of gaming friends. Most of them moved away during the pandemic, which really is unfortunate. So it has caused my hobby to become less. To use up less of my time and yet still the same amount of my money.
We'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah, we'll get there next. And so I just feel like when we have friends come over, they're typically the parents of our kids' friends. And so they come in, they look through the house, and then they come to the board game room. And it immediately gets the same reaction every time, like, oh my God. And how have you had time to, have you played all of these? What's your favorite one? Like, those are the questions you get immediately. And I was wondering if everybody gets that same reaction, and when is that going to end? And when is this going to be a normal thing that I don't feel so self-conscious about?
The question I always get is, have you got Monopoly?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I always get. Well, once they've sort of like sat down and recovered from the shock.
Right.
I get that as well, but it's like they always go, have you got Cluedo, have you got A Game of Life, and it's like, yeah, I have actually,
yeah. I mean, I feel like it's becoming more understood and familiar to people, to see people with large board game collections. It's becoming a bigger hobby.
I don't know, maybe you're just convincing yourself.
Yeah, well, no. I'm just noticing that people will say, oh, I know somebody else who has a collection like that.
Okay.
Because I have about, some 400 games or so, and so I have a library much like you.
Oh, is that all? It's not.
I know.
You've got some catch-up.
It's small compared to some of you guys, I'm sure. But yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about. Highly curated collection here. Yes.
It's just part of your chamber, isn't it, in the background?
Yeah. So Matt's seeing our background for the first time, and this is just a couple of our shelves.
It's so neat. There's nothing on the floor. I can't believe it.
Yeah, everybody's seen.
Oh my God.
Anybody who's seen your channel has seen your collection, I assume. Is that a closet that you've stuffed your games into, Matt?
Well, it's just a spare room that when we moved in here, I immediately just said, mine, it's done. I didn't even trade it for anything. My wife wanted a walk-in wardrobe. I'm like,
Put it right in the middle of the room. You have like some hanging like coat hangers and stuff. It's definitely our lifestyle, because we do not have children, and we have we have this like loft on our third floor that is exclusively our game room. And I always joke that when people visit our house, that the nerdiness just increases as you go up our house. So I had our first level look nice and designed and professional, with thanks to paying somebody to do that for me. And then we go upstairs and there's video games and all sorts of posters. And then the third floor, you're just like, nobody's fainted yet. So I'm hoping one day someone will
your
faint.
time will come.
I could talk about that. Yeah.
You'll have a casualty sooner or later.
Yeah, I hope so. Just for an exciting story. I hope they're okay after, but I wouldn't mind it to talk about. But yeah, I mean, for us, we moved down to Southern California from the Bay Area in Northern California, where I grew up, about 4 years ago. And pretty much all of our friends have been made because of board games. So for us, it's been really great. When we first moved, she works at a video game company, so we did meet some people who were in video games. And then we slowly found the people there who were also into board games, and had that sort of ballooned into our friend group, essentially. So without that, I might not have any friends down here. So here we go. What is your lifestyle like with board games, Matt?
I started playing them in the 70s. I am that old, actually. I might not look it, but I am that old. But I started, I started playing these. Do you remember those game books where you used to turn to page so and so?
Oh, yes.
Fighting fantasy books, yeah. Back in the early '80s, I started playing them, and through that, I found Dungeons and Dragons, like the really early version, the white box, and started playing that with my friends. And then you find out that the people that made fighting fantasy books, Games Workshop, were making board games. And so we started playing a lot of those, basically just roll and move random things with a bit of combat and stuff. And then you find the Euro games like through that, the old Avalon Hill ones, and you move on to Catan, and it's just ballooned from there. It's just basically got a problem, really. It's like an addiction. I don't want to,
Yeah, I mean it's a fun hobby for sure, and like you still have time to put out videos. And so, how often do you get to game?
As much as I can, whenever I've got time, because with work, which is a pain in the neck, you haven't really got a lot of time to do anything really. So any hours of the days, if somebody wants to play a game, I'll do it. Whatever, I don't care what I play, anytime, anywhere.
How many of your friends play games with you? Like, is your friends group primarily made up of board gamers?
My mum comes around here. She's 70. She comes around here once a week, plays games with us. She's on the live stream. We live stream. And we've got so many people that want to come around and play. We can't fit them all at the table sometimes.
I wish I had that problem.
Yeah.
That's your problem, Mike. Yeah. You need to live stream games and start a YouTube channel.
Well, see, inevitably, when I meet somebody new who seems like someone I'd like to hang out with, I wait to ask them the question, like, "What about board games? Do you play board games?" And it's very rare that most people. It's common where people go, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll play a game," but I think it's rare that people go, "Oh yeah, like I understand more than just what Monopoly is and like what you mean when you say let's play a board game."
You have to trick them with the animal games. This is the lesson.
Yeah, you try a dog one, not a cat one.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We've had successful conversions of some friends who were not big gamers before, but I think there's definitely some personal preferences that can lean into that. Like I've noticed friends who like very, puzzly things that they like to do in their spare time. That's something that they could gravitate to. And I try to be very careful about what games I show them first. So that's sometimes worked. I probably wouldn't throw them into Kalimala or something too early, things like that. So
it's a good way to get people off drugs because they haven't got any money to spend on heroin.
Right.
Oh, yeah. But then you have so many baggies, so everybody knows that.
But let me ask you guys a question. If you didn't, if you weren't board gamers, what hobby do you think you would have instead?
God.
I like you, Matt?
Probably be a professional nihilist, probably.
Just sit there thinking that all day.
Yeah.
It would be really, I don't know if I'd enjoy your YouTube shows as much, but...
Well, there's a bit of everything in there.
I think it's still present.
That's true. I'm still very into cooking, and I like rock climbing and things, and I probably would read a lot more. I've become almost illiterate now because of board games, besides rule books, so I don't have time to read as much as I used to, so... Yeah. Well, Mike, you have other hobbies too. What would you be doing more of?
Yeah, I guess I would be DJing more because I used to DJ. I still have quite a collection of vinyl that I sit on and I don't use. But it's an expensive hobby to have. I tend to choose.
Unlike board games,
I tend to choose hobbies based on how expensive and how much space they will take up to piss my wife off. And I've been very good at that.
When you move to collecting cars, we'll have a talk. So
yeah. I know. I think every time I think about, man, I wish I could have a cool car instead of the Dadmobile. Yeah.
There's an easy way around that. Is don't drive like me. I don't drive, so I don't have to worry about. I don't have to worry about car collection.
It is sort of difficult. That's a difference in America. We're very, very car culture based, which has been difficult at times for sure. But yeah, like what is it? What are some differences you think there might be in like American and UK culture with board gaming? Have you ever noticed anything from like commenting or chatting with people in America?
I don't know. If you look on sort of YouTube, it's, I think the Americans, no disrespect to anybody, but they're very bouncy and like smiley, and it's just like, I don't know, it's never raining.
I do live in Southern California, so it's very rare, and we are in a drastic drought. So this is true.
I think the bad weather over here affects people's moods, doesn't it? So
Well, I think if it rained more often, maybe I would stay inside and play more games. But I don't know.
you probably become a professional nihilist.
Yeah, yeah. Instead, I'm a professional optimist.
I am extremely bouncy, so that is a thing. Yeah.
It was warm and sunny yesterday, and everyone stayed in. We had like 20 people over, just indoors playing games all day, morning till night.
It's too hot outside. It's disgusting.
Oh, yeah. Miserable.
Yeah.
Now, what about how much money you spend on board games per month? What would you say?
I'll just check my wife's not listening. No, I don't. I'll just buy them second hand. No, I don't really. I don't know. I really don't know. It's shocking. It'd be shocking. I'm just in a state of denial.
Yeah, I
Can we
mean,
change the subject?
except that's sort of your subject that's coming up very soon. Yeah, we could just talk about your topic, Matt, since
It's
we're
an investment. It's an investment. That's what it is.
Is it? Because I want to know, like, I have friends who collect comic books, and he says, he looks at my collection, he goes, oh, you must be collecting them because they're worth something, right? It's an asset or something. And I'm like, no. The only thing worth anything is maybe the Spanish version of Caylus that I bought. But these are not collector's items to sell someday. They are to be played. They're functional. You know what I mean? Not like some collectibles where you just sit and sit and sit and just wait for the price to go up.
Yeah. So my favorite example of that as a lifestyle choice has been when I first met my husband, Shu. He collected an entire, the whole line of Mighty Mugs. And they were lining his apartment when we first met.
Is she trying to embarrass you?
Mighty Mugs are these toys that look like, they look like...
You can tilt your camera up and we can see what they look like.
Oh, God, yeah.
They're like pop.
They're like pop figures, so like all sorts of
Before pop figures. were popular.
pop culture things, and they're still in their box. You cannot play with them, but still, he will not sell them. So I don't know what we're doing with them, is my conclusion.
Taking up valuable space for board games.
Right?
By the
Yeah,
looks of it.
yeah, Shu. Justify
rid.
yourself.
You wouldn't have to be selling all your games if you just got rid of those and put them up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said I don't know who would buy them. So that's the problem with collecting for value if you don't actually turn it over. So, yeah.
I was collecting for fun and enjoyment, not for value.
Enjoyment, never taking it out of its box to play with.
Now, children. Now.
So, we will talk about Matt's topic now also. Could you remind us of that?
Yeah, it's about the ever increasing price of board games and the implications of that. Mm-hmm. And it just seems to me that over the last maybe sort of 5, 6, maybe 8, let's say 10 years,
Okay.
the price of board games has just increased beyond comprehension. I mean, it's just shocking. I can remember picking up sort of a pretty heavyweight game for maybe £20, £25, but it's about $30. Mm-hmm. And now the same game would probably cost you about £70, £70. So Terraforming Mars is a good example. I picked it up when it came out for £35, and now you're looking at like £55, £60 for the same thing. And the component quality of that game is absolutely appalling. And I think it's pricing people out of the market. And I think the same thing happened with the video games industry over in the 80s. There was an oversaturation of content and the price inflated because everybody wanted a piece of it, and it just blew up. There was a crash. I'm sounding really, really depressing now, aren't I?
It's okay. But we've already established you're a nihilist.
Yeah.
I just worry that there's this horrible phrase called the golden age of board gaming, and it's just a bit of a myth. But I'm just worried. It worries me that it's all going to go to, you can bleep this out, rap, eventually. because people are getting priced out. It's getting ridiculous.
But how much of that is to do with global supply chain issues these days, right? It's like that's only adding to the problem. And I mean, the margins for profit on creating and publishing and designing these board games is so slim that that if more people are getting into the hobby, it's the only way to actually continue to publish these things by making it more profitable.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean,
it's a conundrum, though. It's like a paradox. You know, you need more people into the hobby to continue its growth, but in doing that, the prices go up, and it
is
means
it just
that
a pyramid scheme? I don't know.
Maybe it's a conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean, what's the company that owns everything?
Asmodee.
Asmodee. Yeah, they've been buying up every small publisher. And now they bought Miniature Market. So are they making a conspiracy play to just slowly inch up the price?
Well, weren't they sold recently for like something like $3 billion or something?
Yeah,
something bizarre.
So whoever now
some
owns
like
them.
investment company or something.
You know.
Yeah. I wonder too, because like with the prevalence of Kickstarter now, also people want more stuff with their game, and then that drives up that price. And then if you're another game publisher publishing something else, not even through Kickstarter, you're like, well, this is the price that we're seeing here, so maybe I can match that with this game, whether or not the components justify that. They're like, this is how much game there's in here, people expect this much stuff, and I'm going to charge this much. It's a $60 game, whatever it is, you know.
I talk about that quite a bit. I've got a friend who lives in Arizona, actually. I'll talk to him about this quite a lot. He goes to game meets, and he says every time he goes there once a month or so, and every time he goes there, there's like the latest Kickstarter game there being sold off for peanuts, because people get addicted to Kickstarter. They've got this fear of missing out on the latest thing. They want the exclusives. When they get it, they play it once. It's like, oh, there's something else on Kickstarter. Oh, I can't afford it. Let's get rid of it. And it's this horrible spiral of want, and people don't. The actual act of actually playing the game and exploring the game multiple times and seeing what it's got to offer, I think is being eroded.
I definitely see that, because we just have such a load of games we haven't played, and we are definitely those stereotypical people who chase the new. So I am worried about having FOMO. Like, I really wanted Arcanova. I'm glad I like it, but I would have acquired it whether or not I liked it or not too, which is difficult. I mean, I wouldn't have known until I played it. And we do have a lot of friends who say, you know, whenever I go to Christina and Shu's place, like, I never play the same game twice, and they really want to dig deeper into those games. And I do feel like we need to change our habits more to like make that, you know, to better respect the game and also enjoy it more, because having just a single experience with it, that might not, it's not a true reflection of how good that game could be sometimes. I don't know, in terms of like how much money, the pricing point of these things too, I think that's really difficult for newer gamers until we're getting like, I think the way that new gamers can come in would be more of those mass market games that you're getting at Target or more easily accessible places. And those are being priced still sometimes at $20, $30, right? But they're getting a lot less in the game, probably. I don't know.
Do you, Matt, find yourself buying fewer games now because of the price?
Absolutely, yeah. No doubt about it. Yeah. I mean, in a way, that's a good thing, because I've spent the last 2 or 3 years going back and, you know, replaying games and maybe playing games that I haven't played. You know, so it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because the fact that I can't afford to buy all these new games as much as I used to means that I can go back and revisit the old classics, and I think that's what started the channel. You know, going back and see it. A lot of people on the subscribers have said they enjoy the videos where you see if a game's still worth playing or not, whether it's changed over the years or what have you. You know.
Yeah, that tends to be. It seems like that's your general thesis of your channel, or your mission of your channel, is to check and see if these board games are still worth playing. You always say that now and in the future, and it's group dependent too. You know, not everybody has the same group to play every time, and groups change over time, and so yeah, I guess it's just different for everyone. But yeah, I like that your channel tends to focus on the now and future look at a game. You take the wider view of it. You don't just say, okay, this is the newest game, how does it stack up to last year's game, etc.
Well, last week's game now.
Yeah.
That's exactly. And there's been just this whole new trend with, people the problem with the older games sometimes is it can be a fantastic game. It's just been out of print for so long that, speaking of prices, it might just be like extremely expensive to get a copy. But those really good games are getting those new reprintings and stuff. So I watched your Raw video and I was like,
yeah, that was sent to me by a subscriber, actually. I think we played Modern Art, and he said, oh, have you played Raw? I'm like, no. He goes, I'll send you a copy. I'm like, what? It turned up, I'm like, bloody hell, it's like amazing. So yeah, if Peter Million's listening to this, thank you very much indeed. Very kind of you.
That's why I need to start my own YouTube channel so I can get free board games.
That's not why I do it.
It's a lot of work for a couple here and there.
I've probably only received about 2 or 3 games from people,
No, you seem like you are not trying to kowtow to publishers to get preview copies of games because you're just going to all over them if it does indeed suck.
Yeah. You have to bleep yourself now, Mike. You win because Matt
I said that knowing you don't have to point this out to me, Christina. I'm editing this thing.
I was surprised Jamie Stegmaier keeps sending me all his new games, because I just dump on him from a really great point most of the time.
Well, you had a good laugh with Eric Lang the other day.
Yeah.
That
went
cracked
down like
me
a lead balloon. Yeah.
Up. Oh my god! Did he respond to you? I'm just curious.
I hope not.
So for our listeners, can you tell
he's
them
not
what
alone. I've
happened
done
there?
that with Bruno Cathala, Antoine Bowser, and Stefan Feld. So
are those
personal, Eric?
Is it? Yeah. Is it? These are your honest opinions, though, right? You don't try to make fun of the person personally. You're just trying to have a fun video, a fun video.
Well, my channel is basically a caricature of myself, anyways.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a little elevated, right?
Yeah,
so what was the
so.
thing with Eric Lang that, in case people didn't watch it, is it just not appropriate because there'd be too much bleeping, Mike?
Matt could describe it.
Well, I just took a picture of him and sort of animated the mouth and done a voiceover and just put in some surreal comments of him talking about his own games, and just pretend that he's actually there,
Yeah, it made me laugh so hard. I said I haven't laughed at so hard at one of your videos. I think that was the funniest one I've seen.
Yeah.
All right. I think that was at the top 5 Eric Lang
That's
games
right.
or
Yeah.
something.
There weren't many to choose from, I'm afraid. So
He needs to make more games. There you go.
well, decent games, please.
Yeah, they are all over the place. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah. But yeah, I hope, with the whole pricing thing we were talking about, I don't know if I like so much deluxifying of things in general. That's just getting a little bit too intense. And we back so many Kickstarters, but Shu's always asking, like, should we get this new edition of this game? Should we get this upgrade? I'm like, or like this expansion. Like, we don't pull out the base game enough to warrant getting that expansion.
There's a rule.
So.
It's don't buy games that you already own. That's what I always say. Never buy games.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good rule.
Have you bought any of it? Did you buy like Rococo Deluxe or any of the Lacerda Deluxes or whatever?
We didn't already own those games, so that was the good part. Yeah, but the one big regret Shu has is he did buy the new Kalis, the Kalis 1404 or something, and
1490 something really. Yeah.
Something? Yeah, there's a bunch of numbers, and then he got rid of his original edition of Kalis for the new one, and he
not the Spanish
dearly
version,
regretted it. Yeah, not the Spanish one. No.
No, it's a collector's item.
So,
You don't sell that one.
Yeah, so you do run the risk of that, and he has learned his lesson, hopefully.
It's Kalis 1303.
No
one said
wrong.
any of the digits
You
correctly.
got the first digit.
I got the one. Yeah, Matt
Matt's advice is very sound because right now this is the same thing, right? Like, there's FOMO, there's like excited about whatever's new, but Kingdom Builder is a game Christina and I enjoy a lot. It's not one of our favorites, but we like it a lot.
This is a current discussion.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we do not need this newer, bigger box edition.
Right. We have the big box edition that comes with 2 expansions. There's another big box edition that came with 4 expansions, and then now there's the Empire edition that has the 4 expansions plus a Kickstarter expansion plus all these upgraded figures, upgraded art, bigger maps, plastic pieces for all the houses. And I'm just looking at it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. We should get this really nice, super nice version
And
of a game we
listen to
have.
what he said when he led into it. He said, it's not even our favorite game.
Sounds like he's trying to convince you now.
I have been, but kind of half-heartedly, because the full to get everything, it's like over $200 some, and I'm like, yeah, I know I don't love that game that much.
Okay.
Sound like somebody's actually going to build a kingdom out of the money they're making off that.
Yeah.
It is a really fun game. I enjoy it, but we do not need the Empire edition.
But for someone like me who doesn't have Kingdom Builder to begin with, I'm
wow.
backing it because she seems so excited about this that I guess I need to jump in.
That is the problem.
Oh, do you want to buy our old Kingdom Builder big box edition?
No.
And then we'll use that money towards buying the new.
You could always
There
flog
you go.
those collectible things on the top and then fund it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got
you
you.
go.
If you're willing to do that, I will
Yeah.
let. If you get rid of your Mighty Mugs, you can
That's what
buy the
marriage is all
Empire
about, and it's
edition.
compromise, right? That's what my wife keeps telling
I
me.
didn't know that Matt was
Yeah.
going to be
I'm
here
not-
to be a marriage counselor today, but this is worked out.
Yeah. So I'm offering all this
you.
sound advice because he's been through it.
Because nothing matters. It's fine. So thanks so much for joining us today, Matt. Where can people view your videos? We'll see who you voice next time in your videos.
Where can they see my videos?
Yeah.
On YouTube, yeah. Just search for Board Game Bollocks.
And do you have a Twitter people can follow
Yeah,
you?
I'm on Twitter. Yeah. That's about it, though. I don't know what TikTok is or any of that crap.
Okay.
Don't know.
I would be entertained by your TikToks if you were ever to make any,
Maybe,
though. But
maybe. I don't actually know how it works. I have to talk to my kids or something. They probably know.
And of course, thanks to Mike for joining us. He'll have to bleep himself today. And for there you go. Give yourself more work. Earn your keep. So we also have a board game trivia show, the Board Game Quiz Show on YouTube and Facebook. We just had a hilarious episode with Board with Life alums and now Plaid Hat folks, Nikki and Donald Schultz. See how they did. It was very entertaining. We'll say that for their performance. And so you can now stop listening and go play a game. Bye, everybody.